Welcome in, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for this special. This is Sports by the Book. We are live from the South Point Hotel and Casino, and this is a special for women's basketball. It's a championship game. South Carolina and UConn, a rematch from the 2022 championship game that we saw. Of course, South Carolina won that one and went on to win last year, 2 in a row for them, going for a three-peat. It's going to be a tough one for them, though, because they are the underdog. I have two at the desk with me today, Kenny White to my left and Vinny by the book to my right. We'll get both of their perspectives, and we'll start off with the book perspective. Vinny, good morning.
Good morning, Alex. It's Ladies' Day.
That's right.
For sports, and it's great. I mean, you have two very storied programs, as you mentioned, with a lot of success. The history of UConn and with Gino Auriemma, done just a tremendous job over the years with the Huskies, and of course Dawn Staley is good a coach as there is in the country on either. And it doesn't matter, men's or women's. You have to respect the job, especially in this day and age with the transfer portal and NIL and everything that's going on, and the staying power of both of these programs here. So Connecticut opened as 6-point favorites by virtue of how they've really rolled in the tournament so far. They did take the 6. Total is held steady at 133. There is belief in the defending champs, and I understand it. I think there's certainly some value with the 6. So we're presently at 5.5. And not only did they take plus 240, but they took the money line as well. So they took plus 240. And we're down from minus 280 to 260. So a lot of support so far for South Carolina.
Did not see a three-peat in the other sports, with, of course, the Chiefs going for it. But South Carolina Gamecocks are going for that. Now, that win over UConn 2 years ago, that was their first final loss. 11-0 going into championship games before that. So it is going to be tough. UConn is playing very good. And, of course, they have the best women's college basketball player in the game right now in Paige Beckers. Are you with Vinny? Are you thinking that 5.5 or 6 is some value here with the dog?
So I'm looking at Wikipedia to make sure that I know what's happening here. When you guys said South Carolina beat Connecticut in 2022, that was correct. LSU won in 2023. And South Carolina won again in 2024. So it's not a three-peat for South Carolina.
It's a 3 of 4 peat.
3 of 4 peat for them. So I wanted to make sure that this is going to be such a great game. These are the two best teams in women's college basketball. Two great coaches. I couldn't believe the line was that high, but I guess the way Connecticut's been destroying people, maybe it should be. South Carolina is so well-rounded. They don't have a star player, and Connecticut does. That's another reason, I guess, maybe they got to be the favorite. Paige Beckers is such a good player, but they have other star players with Sarah Strong and Ozzie Fudd. They're really good, but South Carolina runs 7-8 girls out there that all are the same: long, athletic, fast. They all can shoot. They all can rebound. They all play defense. So,
more physical team, right?
I think they're a more physical team. Yeah. Maybe that wins it here, but I made the game 1.5 and 127.
Wow.
I like the dog and I like the under. I think it's going to be a really close game throughout.
So the Final Four dogs were not barking. Of course, both favorites won by a convincing margin here. South Carolina 74-57 over Texas, and then UConn 85-51 over a really good UCLA team that came in with the number 1 overall seed. So should be a good one between these two. So 133 is the total. Mm-hmm. You said you made it lower than that.
Yeah, I made it lower, 127. We're talking a lot of women's college basketball because of what we saw in the last couple of years from Iowa.
Yep.
Sure.
Caitlin Clark, and she's really brought the women's game to the forefront. So she played in the last 2 national championship games. Iowa just fell short to LSU and then again to South Carolina. They lost both games badly, actually. They lost by 17 to LSU and 12 to South Carolina, but she got them there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And amazing run that she had at Iowa. But boy, we have the two best programs in women's college basketball playing against each other in this one on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think the matchups, kind of intriguing, as you mentioned, Kenny. You've got the history of UConn, right, which is certainly pretty storied. under Gino Auriemma, but what South Carolina's done in recent years and really help put both of these programs along with Iowa and LSU in recent years. It's great to see that the ladies are getting the attention, are getting much more exposure television-wise, and that in our world really helps the wagering as well, right? And I have to tell you, what's interesting in the last few years is that folks have said they'll come up and they'll say, "Hey, can you put the ladies up on the big screen with sound?" Right? And that's a credit to them, to the sport and how it's grown. It's terrific for the ladies to get that kind of exposure, and it's good. It's solid competition. So you've got a lot more history, obviously, with UConn, but what South Carolina's done in recent years is terrific, and I think this is as good a matchup as we're going to see. So we've got, obviously, the men's side, and folks are very excited about that, but just as excited for the women's as well.
Pretty incredible. Both of these teams come in here with a combined 6 losses on the year. We have 2 champions, Big East champion for the Huskies and then the SEC champion for South Carolina. This game will take place Sunday, which this is probably airing Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern time on ABC. Do you have, kind of like we were looking with the men's and how dominant the SEC was, is there a dominant conference in women's college basketball?
Yeah, SEC.
SEC,
Okay. It is.
Yeah, once again, they are the dominating conference. You know, these two played in February 16th, in South Carolina. Connecticut won the game 87-58. They dominated all 4 quarters. South Carolina hasn't lost since. They really turned things around. You know, they had a long winning streak, and they lost at Texas in a really tough battle, 66-62. They went back home. They destroyed Florida the next game, but then Connecticut killed them. I kind of feel like there was maybe that hangover at that time. Connecticut had payback from losing the national championship in 2022. When you lose by that many at home, it gets your attention. And I think South Carolina has been waiting for this opportunity. So I hope it's true. I think they're pretty close teams, and I think it's a pretty good bet with the Gamecocks here, plus the points.
I think, putting the coach's hat on here, I think if you're Gino Auriemma, you're saying, forget that game. That was an anomaly. That doesn't mean anything. And if you're Don Staley, you're saying, remember how they punished us in our home building.
Yes.
So that's where I think the strategy begins. You've got the emotional part of it, like Kenny mentioned, but then it'll be the X's and O's. So I think that's where both coaches begin their instructions to their teams, and forget about that game if you're Connecticut, but if you're South Carolina, don't forget about that game. So, it's not really surprising to see that the 6 was taken, and the plus 230 and 240 were initially taken as well. However, I think there'll be, from our side, I think we'll have some support for Connecticut, and which would mean two-way action overall, which is in our world what we love.
Really good season for women's college hoops overall. Of course, Juju Watkins from USC went down with an injury, so we did not get to see them make it to this point, and now we have the rematch from 2022. Any other surprises of teams that you thought could have been here? We know Notre Dame, a very talented team as well. But yeah, I don't think any of us are too surprised to see these two here.
No, these are the best 2 teams. These are number 1 and number 2. With USC, with Juju Watkins, they're right there. And again, I did have Notre Dame rated that highly. Problem was they had 2 really good players that were not 100%. Both came back from injuries, and that was a reason why they kind of faltered, I think, down the stretch. And their best player had the worst game of her career on the final game of the season. And Hidalgo, Hannah Hidalgo, if she has a good game, I think Notre Dame, could have been talking about Notre Dame in this game. I wish we would have, but this is going to be a great finals. And I'm so happy. Vinny, this is something that you guys are going to have to taking a look at next year and putting women's college basketball up on a daily basis. I saw it 2 years ago on the betting board, and a lot of these companies like to throw around a lot of money and talk about how good they are. they had the games up. I couldn't believe it. And I was surprised how many games they had up.
Mm-hmm.
So I handicapped it this year for the first time in my life. All the teams did the work, and it was very profitable for me. And I'm learning as I go about coaches, but I knew the talent of the teams. I didn't do well in totals, which was shocking. I did much better on the sides. And now I know a little bit more, though, about each team and their tendencies and how they want to play. But I was shocked this year about how many plays I've had and how many games that were available for me to bet. I'm talking 30, 40 games they put up on a Saturday and a Sunday. Now women's were very smart. Very few top-ranked women's teams play Saturday. They all play Sunday. So Sunday was a busy day for me. There'd be 25 games on the board on a Sunday.
I think that's a brilliant marketing tool by the women's side, and I think that's what helped drive that business. And no question, we have to take a more serious look at it. So, we know that the men, you've got a good Friday night card. We've started to see some good Friday night games, right? In well, just like football, right? So
and
you got
used
a nice
to be just the Ivy League,
exactly. So now you've got the Ivies, but you've got some Pac-12 games, right, and some Big Ten games on Friday night. Well, and then, of course, you've got that enormous 150-plus game schedule oftentimes on a Saturday. But I think – and then Sunday has a couple of – they'll sprinkle in, again, a Big East or certainly a Big Ten game, maybe an SEC or Big 12. But I think what we've got to pay attention to is the fact that the women have such quality matchups on those Sundays.
Yeah.
And – We did put them up. We did put up some of them, especially when they were good, like this previous matchup with these two.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to have to get more involved because it's a good product, and the TV aspect of it is going to drive more of that business. So that's a good point by you, Ken, and I think that's something we're going to have to pay more attention to for sure.
Yeah, love to hear people are asking, hey, can you put the women's
put
game?
it up on the big screen with sound. Love that.
Women's college basketball growing, as well as WNBA, which will be coming up shortly too. So a lot of fun, a great time for these women college athletes here. Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. Pacific. It will be on here at the South Point.
With sound.
With sound. So come on in, free parking, the best prices, food and drinks. Come join us here to watch this great matchup between South Carolina and UConn. Vinny, Dad, thank you very much. That is our special for our women's college basketball championship for both of them. I'm Alex White. This is Sports by the Book. We'll see you next time.